You know, like, what can we do next? You know, how can we push the limit? How can we push the limit without breaking the rules? So 2 of my uncles, when they turned 16, 18 years old, they were the first ones to come up to the States, to Chicago. And, you know, that's how the family started. So, like, 2 of them started, and then another one started. And then that's how kind of like the whole entire family started growing up. I hear stories from my uncles that, you know, like, sometimes they didn't have enough money to buy shoes for everyone. So it was just, like, very difficult. So my uncles took up in their part to tag along and start helping. That's how they came to the States and start sending money back to my grandparents to start building their house and things like that. You know, my grandparents are not with us anymore, but, you know, they left a legacy of my uncles and aunts and just being a very tight family. You know, and that's kind of like one of the beauties, that they still left it in me, to make sure that, you know, I was always coming out like clean, and I was always just like dressing up. Doesn't matter like where you're going, and, you know, you always have to just kind of like greet the people that come in. And that's why kind of like I have the hospitality, because every time someone will come into the house, you know, we will open our doors, whether we had all the wine open, you know, share with them, like if we were having dinner, where 2 eat, 3 more can eat, you know. So it was always kind of like that institution from my parents and my grandparents to put it on me. And that's kind of like I grew up always just seeing how hospitality in my family ran.
What was the food scene in Chicago like when you first moved here?
It was different. You know, I feel like it was more like homey. You know, it's just like I feel like he has lost a lot of the charm just because everyone wants to be Baby Gourmet, everyone wants to do a Michelin star, or everyone wants to be. I feel like it has changed a lot over the years.
Like everyone is chasing status now.
Yes. I'm not saying they're not cooking anymore, but I feel like they're chasing more of a status than anything. The 3 Michelin star style is not my cooking. I like more of the rustic. I like more of the, we're getting the rush right now, let's go ahead. And I like the loudness. I like the chaos. I like everything. You know, they're getting down and dirty in the line with the rest of the guys, just like being shoulder to shoulder, sweating and making sure that, you know, like you're cooking. I mean, I'm getting goosebumps right now just thinking about it, you know, because it's just such a beautiful thing. Here, no, I'm like, how long for this? How long for this? Do you have this working? Blah, blah, blah. You know, when you have the big rush, that's what fulfills me. And then coming out to the dining room and seeing everyone that is just a party. You know, that they're enjoying. Again, that they're celebrating anything and everything in life. You know, and the biggest pay for me is just to see them taking a bite and just either closing their eyes and just having a big smile. Yeah. That's the biggest pay for me. When we first met, he asked me, he's like, oh, do you want to have a James Beard Award, or do you want to have a Michelin star? And I was like, you know what? If they come in, they're welcome, but it's not like I'm going to be chasing them. You know, because I want to be who I am. Like, I want to just keep going. You know, now that I'm a business owner, now that I have that opportunity, and I see that we can just get a James Beard Award in the future, now I want to chase it. But at the same time, I don't want to lose who we are just because of that. And I see a lot of places that do that. But at the same time, I see a lot of other places that, you know, staying true to themselves and cooking some badass food. And that's what I like to see. I don't like seeing like the mimics and all of that stuff. Like, I want to go to a place where the chef cares of what he's putting on his craft. For me, it's just always just kind of like changing items, because a lot of the times, like you said, steakhouses are always kind of like doing the same thing.
So then that's how it sets itself apart, or doesn't compete with the other institutions.
Exactly.
Because they're doing their own thing.
They're doing their own thing.
You're doing your own.
Exactly. Yeah. You know, it's just like, and plus I want to have, you know, challenges for my staff. So like that they don't get bored, you know, because a lot of times cooking the same things over and over and over, the repetition that we want, the quality is the same, but at the same time, the guys get bored of that, you know? So it's just like, I don't want to be bored in the kitchen. I want to make sure that the guys are thinking on different ways of cooking, different ways of plating, different things to bring in.
The word trend to me just feels like, it feels kind of like superficial or like ephemeral.
Right.
I guess. So like,
you know, I mean, we live in an Instagram world, right? Nowadays. So people are looking for what's the new thing, right?
But how do you chase trends without losing the soul of the food?
Well, I think that's the chef's job, right? Like, that's my job, and that's the executive chef being in place to make sure that every dish, it's out the same way that we design it for. That's the most important thing, obviously, in a restaurant, the quality and the consistency. And that comes to the chef being always on top of everything, making sure that all the dishes are coming out right, making sure that everything is just like the garnishes are on point, that the produce is on point, that the proteins are some of the fresh ones, the best ones that we can get. Yes, it's okay to get creative, but at the same time, you have to make sure that everything is also on point. So like that, I feel like that in a way, yes, we can be trendy, but at the same time, it doesn't lose the way that we do things.
Right, because you're so you're still staying grounded in your techniques.
Exactly. Yeah. You know, and I don't see it as a job. You know, like I'm one of those persons that is lucky enough to do something that I love. Like a lot of the times I'm bored at home and I'm like, I'll just go to work. I'll just go to work and spend some time over there. Yeah. You know, and it's one of those beautiful things that, you know, like I'm lucky enough that my mom put the work ethic in me since I was little. You know, so I'm gonna be grateful forever for her that she put that into my radar, that you have to work hard, that you have to work collective just to chase your dreams. And you know, like I feel like I'm living in one of my dreams when I was a kid, because my sisters tell me like, oh, you always wanted to be a chef. You know, you were in the kitchen as much, but you know, because I grew up with my mom and grandma always cooking, so I was kind of like the kid that, you know, like run into the kitchen and just grab something and run back, right? And my mom is one of those persons that cooked a different meal every single day. So every day I was eating something different. People ask me like, oh, what's your hobby? I'm like,
this
cooking.
Is it. Yeah.
This is it. Creating new experiences, creating restaurants, working with people, creating chefs, creating jobs. You know, I don't see success in a monetary way. I see success in how many people we can hire or have working for us. That's the type of success that I see. We're able to help and change lives by providing jobs. We want to make sure that everything that we do, it's still us. You know, we don't want to lose that touch. Yeah. Because a lot of the times when companies get too big, they feel like they don't have that touch anymore. So I want to make sure that we still have that touch and that environment for people to come in.
What do you want people to take away from your food?
The love that is being poured into, not just by me, but from all the people that work in the kitchen. Because it's an art to love. You know, it's just like from creating it to putting it together. It's just like a lot of people just. That's another thing that I want to showcase my cooks, to care for it. You know, just not just to, you know, look at it as a job and just create a sauce and pour it over. I make sure that they feel comfortable and they feel like if it's not right, I'm not going to serve it. I'm going to serve it all over again.
If it was made with care and intention.
The passion that comes in behind it. Yeah, that's what I want people to really realize. Not just in the food, but, you know, like when it comes to the drinks and the wine, we curate those menus as well. So I want to make sure that they really understand where we're coming from.
Like the choices are personal and human.
Right? That's kind of like what I love doing, cooking and everything. But at the same time, I'm so happy and I'm so glad that I'm in this position and I have all the people working for me that make the day-to-day happen.
Out in San Francisco where the weather's fair, they have a dance out there they call the Grizzly Bear. All your other loving dances don't compare. Not so coolly, but a little more than spoony talk.